Enoch chapter 19, verse 1. It says, "And Uriel said to me, here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged, till they are made an end of. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens. And I, Enoch, alone saw the vision and the end of all things, and no man shall see as I have seen." So it's a short chapter.
It's short, but it's, man, is it ever controversial, isn't it?
It's a controversial chapter. Yeah. My first thing that steps out to me that I think is interesting is it talks about the angels, their spirits assuming different forms. We have this passage in Jude, I think it's verse 6. I'm going to go there real quick. I'll also put this up on the screen for people to read along. But in the book of Jude in the New Testament, in verse 6, where it talks about, "And the angels who did not keep their own domain, but abandoned their proper abode."
Well, it's interesting, Sean, because, when I see this, the angels who have connected themselves with women and their spirits assuming many different forms. I mean, that isn't a characteristic only given to those angels who connected themselves with women. This is a watcher class characteristic, right? Where they can assume different forms, right? And so when I think about this, I think about in Hebrews where it talks about, we could be entertaining angels, right? Because they've assumed themselves as men throughout the scriptures. And unbeknownst to the characters that, come into contact with these men, and even the scriptures call them men in many instances, right? They don't say this is an angel that has just assumed a form of a man. It just bang out says, and the men showed up, or a man is coming to talk or whatever. It doesn't give us that bit of information or that context that, the book of Enoch tells us that they can assume the likeness of men. And we wouldn't even know it. They're that convincingly, look like men. So it's just something to consider, especially when we think about, Abraham's interaction with 3 men that showed up with him, and elsewhere in the scriptures, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, that mentioned in the Apocalypse of Baruch, it talks about the resurrection will be like the angels and being able to change into any form we desire. And so I think that's interesting. I don't want to go too far with it because we're going to get to the Apocalypse of Baruch at a later time.
We will, but even here, Sean, assuming many different forms.
That's right.
It goes beyond just turning into men, right? I mean, apparently they can change into things that go beyond just like, a man's appearance type thing. They can change into elements in a way. And they're already a fire, right? They're a fire, so
that's right.
Yeah.
And we have, this idea. We have similarities of this idea with countless millions of testimony from people that have seen demonic possession or have seen, very demonstrable events of spiritual wickedness in our modern life, where they'll talk about things changing shape, people's faces changing shape, people that are possessed. This is where modern media has tried to glamorize or glorify this idea through horror movies. But the sad reality, the terrifying reality of this idea is that you see this kind of stuff in small doses, people talking about experiencing this stuff when they have interactions with demonic activities that are not productive, that are not good, right? And they're terrified by it because they can see, it's almost like they can see matter changing on demand, and I think, now that's from a spiritual sense, right?
Right.
Now let's look at modern science. Modern science claims that the new physics of microbiology and nanotechnology claims that they're creating programmable matter so that they can create stuff that'll change forms and shapes whenever it wants, because on a small molecular level, they're able to control it and move it around. So essentially this is manipulation of the creation in general, but at a microscopic level. Do the angels have the power to do this? It seems to say they do.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm trying to get at, is just try a real world practical example, both from testimony of the demonic interactions, but also in physical sciences. We can see that this on a physical level, outside of a kind of a spiritual realm, we can see the same concepts parroted And I think that that's fascinating that we have here a direct mention that angels can assume many different forms.
Yeah, exactly. So, Sean, just for our viewers' sake, and even just for our own sake here, verse 1, where Uriel is showing Enoch this is the same place as the 7 stars that are bound in that abyss, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the previous context, we went to this outside of this one enclosed area that was called, he reached the end of that firmament of heaven, went to a different place where there was an abyss, where there was no clear firmament above or bottom below, a place of fire and burning mountains and abyss, a not good place. And then here we have a conversation pick up while he's there. And it's Uriel saying, here at this place you're looking at shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women.
Yeah, until the great day in which they shall be judged, till they are made an end of.
So what I'm seeing, Ken, to me, is this is Tophet. This is what the Old Testament in Isaiah 30 refers to as Tophet.
Yeah, Isaiah 30, 33, right?
Yep. And then what we see later in the New Testament referred to as Gehenna. It's the lake of fire. It's the place of burning. And
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree, man. And this is, I know we're going to have to really discuss this in probably in our next episode when we get to Enoch 22, right?
Yeah.
Where the translators have had their way with certain texts and have created a lot of confusion when it comes to, Hades and Sheol and hell, and kind of compiles them all into one place when really it's not. And Topheth being, the Old Testament version of Gehenna, which is the New Testament or the Greek version, right, of the Valley of Hinnom.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, which isn't Sheol or Hades. It's not the place of the abode of the dead where souls go when they die.
It's a place where people are brought from Sheol and dropped into the lake of fire.
Exactly.
And this is this place is overseen, if I could say it like this, by Yeshua, by the reigning king of Israel of the New Jerusalem, which is Yeshua during the millennial reign, right?
Because it comes up, doesn't it come up into the middle of the land or something like that?
Yeah, it seems to be that this creation is augmented, if I could say it like that. Some of these descriptions that we're seeing as Enoch saw it pre-flood, by the time that it gets to the discension of the New Jerusalem and the day of the Lord, that things have been kind of rearranged in a sense, if you will, because we know that the garden itself is enlarged to accommodate everyone in the first resurrection. We get that mentioned as Isaiah 49. And so this is another just indicator. If he's seeing components of things that are going to be used on the day of the Lord in judgment, places he's being shown, just like he just saw the throne of Yeshua, that where Yeshua is going to sit in in Enoch's future reality, right? Which really close to our future reality now, which is why the book of Enoch is for that latter generation about to go through the great tribulation. Yeah. So I think that that's fascinating that we have, we're getting these glimpses of things we see in a millennial reign setting. But remember what Yeshua said, I go to prepare a place for you. Okay. I don't think that he's going just to fully create, because the garden was created from the foundation of the world. It says that this place of burning has, in Isaiah 30, it says it's long been prepared for the Antichrist. And I'll just read that right here real quick. And Enoch 19, as we're reading, it's already been prepared and ordained for the rebellious angels. So let me just read this real quick in Isaiah 30 so people can understand where we're pulling from. Verse 31, and it says, for at the voice of the Lord, Assyria will be terrified when he strikes with the rod, and every blow of the rod of punishment which the Lord will lay on him will be with the music of tambourines and lyres, and in battles, brandishing weapons, he will fight them. For Tophet has long been ready. Indeed, it has been prepared for the king. He has made it deep and large, a pyre of fire with plenty of wood. The breath of the Lord, like a torrent of brimstone, sets it afire. So
Sean,
I just think that
which king are we talking about here?
Yeah, we're talking about Yeshua. This is the King of Israel. This is going to be the King of Kings, Lord of Lords. This is our Savior. This is our Redeemer. This is our strong and high tower. This is our Lord and our perfect agent and representative of the Almighty, His Son Yeshua of Nazareth. So I think that it's fascinating here because we're getting huge mentions of, if people ever people scoff sometimes, thinking, well, oh, the angels are put away and they're let back out and all this stuff. And I don't see that. All I see is the angels are put away until the day of consummation. And on the day of consummation, they're thrown into Tophet. They're thrown into the lake of fire.
That's right. Yeah. And then just the surrounding context of what you just read there in Isaiah 30. That's referring to Nimrod, right? The Assyrian who will be beaten down.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we get that in the next chapter as well, right at the end there, where it talks about the Assyrian will fall by the sword. Because in another extra biblical book, we're told that Yeshua takes this Assyrian Nimrod up to his mountain and convicts him, and then lays him open thigh to neck, right? As we know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, Habakkuk 3:14 talks about the Assyrian who's defeated by Yeshua, and then the second Baruch that talks about him being actually brought to stand before Yeshua.
I think second Baruch 30, I believe.
Yeah, and that's where we had the irony, if you will, of the Antichrist and his original purpose, which is the purpose of Nimrod, which was in Genesis 11 to ascend through the firmament, to get to heaven, to kill God, to reign. As God does on this throne, but the only time he's ever going to get close and he's going to see this throne is the day of his judgment, and then he's thrown into the lake of fire. So that's some irony for you.
Yeah, sorry, I said second Baruch 30. Just I apologize for you guys out there. It's the 40th chapter of second Baruch.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. And just getting back here to our chapter, where it says that these spirits who connected themselves with women shall lead men astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. So that's referring to, obviously, a post-flood reality, correct? Or do you think that they were leading them astray to be sacrificing to demons before the flood? But that wouldn't really make sense, because demons are, wandering spirits of the dead Nephilim giants, correct?
I think the word shall is maybe misleading to us to think of a future event, but it's just recapping what we've already read about they took wives, they had the offspring, and then it tells us that their offspring become the demons on the earth that men make idols of and oppress and torment men and cause sickness and disease. Because we read that, what was it? Last chapter, was it chapter 17 or 16? So we read that in the last episode, that is where we get the word demons. That's where we get this idea of unclean spirits, is that they are the disembodied souls of the Nephilim. And so that means even when they're in the body, they're still being worshipped as gods before the flood, which is why this same practice picks up post-flood. And the demons and the unclean spirits always set themselves up as an idol, as a physical representation of their quote-unquote non-corporeal self, so that the people can worship them in idolatry.
Yeah.
Did I make any of that clear?
Oh yeah. No, that's clear, man.
So that's where I get out of that. I'm not sure this is talking about the angels are still around post-flood. I mean, obviously we know that one angel's still around, Azazel, but he didn't defile himself with the women, as far as we can tell. So therefore, these ones that are being judged for this specific act of defiling themselves with women, their offspring, the Nephilim, are leading mankind astray into sacrificing to them and worshiping them in idolatry.
Yeah, until the great day in which they shall be judged, till they are made an end of. Man, I can't wait for that day, Sean.
Right. And that's, to me personally, that's why the idea that what I'm seeing here in chapter 19 is that both the angels who took wives and their offspring are going to be thrown into the lake of fire at the return of Yeshua.
Yeah, I agree. I think
which is amazing, because I'm guessing we may get to see that mankind, resurrected mankind, within the New Jerusalem may get to see that. And Ken, if we remember the descriptions of the New Jerusalem, which is also called Zion in the Old Testament, which is this land area and these mountains and this whole concept that Enoch's been shown in these past few chapters. Remember what Revelation 21 calls the New Jerusalem, that its walls are clear.
Yeah.
So people can see into this place. They just have to, and that's for a different conversation, different chapters. We can go into Ezekiel and a whole bunch of different places, but the survivors of the day of the Lord who are outside the city that start encamping around the city because they come to it for provisions, for food, water, shelter, medicine from the trees that grow along the river of life, they can't go inside the city unless they're doing Torah. And unless they, just like we have the example given to us in the law in Exodus through Deuteronomy about people that could get close to the presence of God, and they only did that through sanctifying and purifying themselves through these acts of the Torah. And of course, also their heart had to be right. So there's some qualifiers, but you can get into the outskirts of the city. From what I understand, they just can't get to the inner depths of the city. Long story short, they can see through the walls of the city. Is it possible, since this mountain is going to be the biggest mountain in the entire area within the New Jerusalem, the top of the mountain made of sapphire, that's the throne of Yeshua, is it possible that the survivors of the day of the Lord are going to get to witness these rebellious angels and all their demon offspring who've led mankind astray and caused all this chaos and disease and death, that they're going to get to watch them be thrown in the lake of fire and judged by the righteous judge, Yeshua? Is that possible?
I would say it's highly possible, John. And I think Paul mentioned something in 1 Corinthians 6, I believe it is, where it says that, do you not know that you will judge angels? Well, I think not only will we see their judgment, we may actually take part in the judging process.
Man, imagine that testimony. You survived the day of the Lord and all the craziness that happened on the earth at that time. And you travel with your family, and who's left of your friends and family, you travel with them to the New Jerusalem, this massive 1,500 mile tall, 1,500 mile squared city, come down through the firmament, and you can now see it connected to the firmament above because of the way it's designed and how scriptures tell us. And you see inside the angels moving around because you can see through the walls. You see inside us, the resurrected saints, in our in our white clothing that we get at the resurrection, moving around. And as we are illumined by God, as Revelation 22 says, so we're kind of glowing in a sense like Moses did when he came down from the mountain. And you see Yeshua on the throne, right? Because every eye will see him. And so because you can look actually through the walls of this amazing city, and what a testimony as far as like, oh, I want to aspire to be in there, so therefore they start learning Torah. They start learning the instructions of God for righteous living.
No, I agree, man. It's crazy how it's all going to be set up. And I think that is the purpose for why, the mountains are laid low and the valleys are risen up and filled up, to make a straight path to Yahweh's, his kingdom, so that all eyes can see from whatever corner on the earth you can see it. It's amazing.
And then imagine even those who scoff. Maybe scoff is the wrong word. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're just severely misunderstanding the scriptures. But those who say that demons are not actual, real, evil, unclean spirits because they reject the book of Enoch, and they claim that demons are just simply sickness and disease, and that was the New Testament way of personifying sickness and disease, was to call it an actual demon. But this narrative that some people have chosen to believe, because they reject Enoch so strongly, they claim that demons aren't real, that it's just that's just a name, a concept given to sickness and disease. Well, on this day that we just mentioned, where the offspring, the Nephilim, that people were affected by throughout history, are thrown in the lake of fire by the angels and under the authority of Yeshua, they're gonna, in my opinion, they're gonna be able to see it. There'll be no question anymore. There'll be no question about who the enemy is and how they're working and where they come from and what this is all about. Again, this is just another strong reason why you would want to take the book of Enoch out of the canon, because it tells us who the enemy is.